On an autumn day, Mr. Lockwood, the new tenant of Thrushcross Grange, a house near Wuthering Heights, went to meet his landlord, Heathcliff. Heathcliff was a cold, sullen man with eyes full of sorrow and anger. His house, much like himself, was gloomy, somber, and dark. That night, Lockwood stayed there and slept in one of the rooms. During the night, amidst the wind and cold, Lockwood had a strange nightmare. A frozen hand tapped against the window, and a sorrowful voice whispered, "Let me in. I am Catherine." Terrified, he woke up. The next morning, he asked the old housekeeper, Nellie Dean, about the name. Nellie gazed into the distance and softly said, "If you want to know the story of this house, we must go back many years. Years ago, Mr. Earnshaw, the owner of Wuthering Heights, returned from a journey to Liverpool with an orphan boy of gypsy descent. The boy, who had no name, was given the name Heathcliff. Catherine Earnshaw, Mr. Earnshaw's daughter, quickly became close to Heathcliff. They were always together, running through the vast hills, laughing in the wind. But Hindley Earnshaw, Catherine's older brother, hated Heathcliff from the moment he arrived. He could not bear that his father loved this strange boy more than him. As time passed, Catherine and Heathcliff's bond grew stronger. But when Mr. Earnshaw passed away, Hindley became the master of the house. He reduced Heathcliff from a member of the family to a mere servant. No more education, no more kindness. Heathcliff worked from dawn to dusk, but in his heart, there was only one thought: Catherine. One night, out of curiosity, Catherine and Heathcliff secretly peeked into their neighbor's house, Thrushcross Grange. This home belonged to the Linton family, wealthy and refined aristocrats. Suddenly, their dogs attacked, injuring Catherine. The servants caught her and took her inside. Edgar Linton, the young man of the house, cared for her and gradually grew fond of her, trying to win her heart with gifts like expensive dresses. When Catherine returned weeks later, she was no longer the same girl. She had become a graceful young lady, which troubled Heathcliff. Meanwhile, Hindley's wife, Frances, gave birth to a son, Hareton, but she soon died of tuberculosis. This loss drove Hindley into despair and alcohol addiction, leaving the household in disarray. One night, Catherine confessed to Nellie, "I want to marry Edgar. He is kind, noble, and will give me a comfortable life." Nellie, shocked, asked, "But you love Heathcliff?" Catherine smiled sadly and said, "I do love him. He is a part of me. But marrying him will destroy me. I will be poor and miserable. Edgar is the better choice." But Heathcliff overheard her words. Something inside him shattered. Without a word, he vanished into the night. 3 years passed. Catherine married Edgar, but in her heart, she always felt the absence of Heathcliff. Then, one night, he returned. He was no longer the humiliated orphan. He had become a strong, wealthy, and proud man. But his eyes burned with anger and revenge. Heathcliff bought Wuthering Heights from the ruined Hindley, dragging him further into despair. Then, to torment Edgar, he seduced Edgar's sister, Isabella Linton, and married her. But Isabella soon realized that Heathcliff's love was just an act, a weapon to hurt Edgar. She fled, giving birth to their son, Linton, far away from Heathcliff. Meanwhile, Catherine, now pregnant, fell gravely ill. One day, while Edgar was at church, Heathcliff came to see her. In each other's arms, they relived their lost love. "Why did you leave me, Catherine?" "I didn't leave you. You left on your own." That night, after giving birth, Catherine died with her hands in Heathcliff's. In the years that followed, Edgar raised their daughter, Cathy, in the isolation of Thrushcross Grange, keeping her away from Wuthering Heights. After many years, Cathy grew older. One day, while wandering through the fields, she accidentally arrived at Wuthering Heights, where she met Heathcliff and Hareton. Upon returning home, Nellie Dean, the family's housekeeper, warned her never to go there again. When Linton turned 12, his mother, Isabella, passed away. Edgar and Heathcliff competed over where the boy should live. In the end, Heathcliff won and took Linton to Wuthering Heights, keeping him away from his Uncle Edgar. On Cathy's 16th birthday, she accidentally entered Heathcliff's estate. Seizing the opportunity, Heathcliff invited Cathy and Nellie to spend time with Linton. When they returned home, Edgar forbade Cathy from visiting Wuthering Heights. However, Heathcliff secretly encouraged a romantic relationship between her and Linton. Soon, Cathy and Linton began exchanging love letters, but Nellie Dean intercepted and stopped their correspondence. Meanwhile, Edgar fell ill. Despite his orders, Cathy returned to Wuthering Heights to see Linton, but found him in a dire condition. Cathy soon realized that Linton only expressed affection toward her under his father's orders. Heathcliff had a plan. After Edgar's death, he intended to seize ownership of Thrushcross Grange. He imprisoned Cathy and forced her to marry Linton. Eventually, Cathy gave in, and after the marriage, she managed to escape just in time to see her father before he passed away. After Edgar's funeral, Heathcliff forced Cathy to live at Wuthering Heights and care for the sickly Linton. However, Linton soon died as well. At first, Cathy despised Herr Tun, but over time, loneliness led her to teach him how to read and write. Gradually, their relationship changed, and Cathy developed feelings for him. Meanwhile, Heathcliff grew more deranged and tormented. He confessed to Nellie Dean that Catherine's spirit still haunted him. He even exhumed her grave just to see her face one more time. Eventually, Heathcliff rented out Thrushcross Grange to Lockwood, and Nellie's story reached the present. Tired of the desolate Yorkshire moors, Lockwood left the area. However, 8 months later, when he passed by again, he met Nellie once more. She told him that Heathcliff had become so obsessed with Catherine's ghost that he stopped eating and sleeping. One night, having nothing left to hold on to, Heathcliff sat in his room, opened the window, closed his eyes, and found peace. The next morning, they found his lifeless body with a strange smile on his lips, as if he had finally seen Catherine's spirit in the wind. Heathcliff was buried beside Catherine. After his death, Wuthering Heights became peaceful again. Cathy and Herr Tun decided to leave and start a new life together. And now, on stormy nights, if you visit Wuthering Heights, you might hear the voices of two lovers in the wind calling out to each other.